we will get to all of the college football and professional football that are part of our Monday, not good for you, congested digestive system, just belching out football on a Monday. Because it's one of the few common grounds we all have in America today. Certainly the people listening to this can't get enough football. But before I get to the football, I don't want to just skip past a sports story from the weekend because boxing doesn't matter the way that it used to in this country because they've distorted it with a bunch of Pauls and circus freak fights and Conor McGregor being carried around the ring by Floyd Mayweather, who said this weekend in some video that I saw that he now owns 9 skyscrapers in New York. I don't think that's true. I'm guessing he's getting dividends from a company or from a place where many people are able to buy skyscrapers. But he's done very well for himself because he was first to, I'll keep all my own pay-per-view. I'll be a just business mercenary, and that's fine. 50 Cent can make fun of me because I'm illiterate, but I'm going to be in the golden age ahead of everyone in sports at making money on my name and keeping that money, not sharing it with Dana White, not sharing it with the networks, just having allies. Floyd Mayweather conquered the sport, and then people watched the circus freak fight of Conor McGregor, and that wasn't a real thing. But this weekend, Stugotz, because boxing in this country used to be, boxing, if the Giants are going at it, everyone in America is watching. It is the event in sports. That's what used to be. But in Saudi Arabia, you had Ngannou and Fury, and I don't know if people have been paying attention, but the Klitschko's were great champions. Not good, Stugotz. Great champions. Dominated heavyweight boxing, and people lost interest because they weren't from here. We didn't have people from here. We didn't have interesting personalities. Deontay Wilder wasn't enough. Tyson Fury is a beast. He conquered those 2 beasts who are now fighting in Ukraine. He conquered the heavyweight division and has been a great champion. And I don't know if he underestimated Ngannou, but what Ngannou did in that fight was stunning to me as somebody who knows that you don't take a punch and fall down. There was no carrying Ngannou around the ring. At the center of that ring, Fury told Ngannou, "Time to take you to school." And then Fury went down. And Ngannou stood over him and yelled, "You're a bad professor. You're who's taking who to school now?" And if Ngannou was a more experienced fighter, he would have ended that fight there, or he would have ended it later with body shots. But he's not experienced yet. But holy, that guy won in every way over the weekend because he got out from under Dana White, out from under the business, and is now making his own money. And Tyson Fury will have to seriously train for the next time he fights him because he's got the punching power and the chin to stand somehow toe-to-toe with a great heavyweight champion.
But not in every way. I mean, he lost the fight.
Every way but that one.
Right. That's the important thing.
That's the war.
Yeah.
Right. It felt kind of icky after the fight. The whole thing kind of felt icky. You know, Tessitore constantly calling the leader of Saudi Arabia His Excellency. That felt a little weird. And then at the end, Ngannou not upset, seemingly, about the result. It just felt like, I know boxing with the fixes in, but it felt weird with how Ngannou just took the loss. And didn't see, because he got a knockdown. I don't know
victory, though.
I don't know the way boxing scoring works, but I thought
it's 10-8 there, but the rest of the fight, I mean, look, it was a split decision, and it wasn't horribly refereed, but one judge had the fight for Ngannou, and the other 2 judges had it for Fury. But the point was that he stood with him and he knocked him down, and that wasn't fake. The way Tyson Fury's face looked after the fight, that's not fake.
I understand where Chris is coming from, but maybe what's going through Ngannou's mind is where he's been. Everyone knows about his story. He was unhoused in France, and maybe he's looking at that moment as like, I just won. I don't have to worry about Dana White's $50,000 bonus here. I just got a bag.
But he lost.
And he secured, he performed so well that he'll get more fights. So that's probably where he's thinking there. Like, if he embarrasses himself there, he probably doesn't get other fights. Now he's going to get more fights.
I don't want to say because of the construct and the evolution of one of the things Mike was talking about last week, which is fame is the new good. that the big boxing fights have been circus things. They haven't been fights because you care about boxing. And I don't want to say Ngannou skips the line here because his story is crazy. This is one of the toughest human stories you will ever hear in sports, what he has overcome. And Dana White tried to bleep him, like really tried to put him under the thumb, the way he's got John Jones under his thumb, the way he has conspired with everyone in business to hold fighters down and squeeze the income out of them as some of them live in their cars. Ngannou escaped the thicket of that system and just cut the line straight to the top of the heavyweight box office from the other sport because of his showing in that fight. And it's one of the few boxing things, like you could quibble about the micro things. You didn't like the judging or whatever. But what you can't quibble with is that dude just won at business. That guy just secured himself because he's going to get to keep all of the money from now on his 2 or 3 next fights. And he's going to do the Floyd Mayweather stuff.
It went exactly the way that you would want, in that I didn't watch this fight. Middle of the afternoon college football season. It's just not going to work for me. And
you'll watch the next one?
Unlike everybody that was tweeting about boxing saying this is why I don't watch boxing, I kind of got to that point and I legit don't watch boxing. But that stopped fairly recently. And what I do recall from my time watching boxing is Tyson Fury ran through everybody. And if people are saying online that this guy beat him and it's a controversial split decision, I'm interested now because Ngannou did what a lot of people said, which is if someone that big with that punching power hits you, you're going to go down. And he made Fury go down. And if you look at the list of heavyweights right now, the fight you want to see next is actually this guy that came over from the UFC and didn't box before going in with the boxer of his generation. It's a pretty great story.
You had Fury before the fight talking about how he trained with beers and burgers for this. And then in about the 8th round, I'm thinking, probably not a good choice to do that.
Yeah, but he won.
A cool thing that I saw from the highlights, and I did not watch the fight, so there is an element of me BSing through this, but what I had heard from people that did watch the fight was usually when the boxer ties you up, that's a bit of a break for the boxer, but he gets into a tie-up, and Ngannou's initiating offense off of breaking it up because he's manhandling him with his strength. And the deeper that fight went, the difference in conditioning started becoming apparent.
Not just that, because clearly those are two very different 270-pound people. And Ngannou took an elbow. I mean, Tyson Fury doesn't get manhandled. He keeps people at a distance. Stugotz. Deontay Wilder is said to be the biggest puncher in the history of the sport. And Tyson Fury could keep him at a distance, but Deontay Wilder is not the size of Ngannou. And Ngannou's strength, I don't think people understand this. Do you understand what his stamina has to be in that sport to be a heavyweight going into the late rounds? Like this is where the mixed martial arts can meet, and Tyson Fury can underestimate this human being who's like, Stugotz, this is the Rocky story where Tyson Fury has gotten to the top of the mountain.
Except Rocky won.
Tyson Fury is the king. You should like this because
he lost the first one, Mike. Okay. I know. You're right. Yeah.
Tyson Fury is the king of heavyweight fighting. He's got a reality show on Netflix. It's super interesting. It'll take you in the mind and into the life of somebody who's dealing with mental illness by his own admission.
They'll fight again? The two of them?
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
The rematch is set.
And it'll be a huge fight for Ngannou, who will keep his business part of this, which is, it really is fascinating to me as a victory. But this I don't know if this is Mr. T. It's probably Mr. T. Rocky. Fury is fat and happy training with beers and burgers doing a reality show, and Ngannou is coming from Africa and homelessness into the heavyweight sphere, which is, Stugotz, these are the toughest people with the most desperation, the people who arrive at the top of boxing because they don't have any other options and they got to fight other human beings for money. Right. Tyson Fury has gotten to fame and celebrity, and Ngannou's fighting for something on behalf of other fighters. Ngannou's fighting on behalf of, no, you can do this if you bet on yourself and you get out from under the grip of how dirty these businesses are. I mean, boxing, Stugotz, is worse than all of them. Mixed martial arts, worse than all of them in terms of how poorly they treat the fighters.
You're saying who is Clubber Lang? Which one? Ngannou?
I'm saying this is
important.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that
because
is.
You remember Rocky didn't prepare for his first fight with Clubber Lang because Clubber Lang accidentally killed his trainer Mickey. And then Rocky, once he got past the fear, the speech on the beach by Adrian, one of the great speeches of all time in the history of movie making, then Rocky, like a light went off, and he went back to basics. He trained with Apollo, came back, and then he took care of Mr. T.
Jessica, I need to engage you here because this is, yeah.
By the way, training Rocky seems to be a dangerous job. Say no to that if it ever becomes available.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work out for Apollo in 4.
You're right.
Spoiler alert.
Burt Young passed away recently. I
Rest
don't
in
know.
power.
I didn't even get to talk about that.
Oh, my goodness. It's 3 now. This is a trend.
Paulie, but Stallone looks better than ever. I saw him on all the...
Of course he does.
Steroids.
I don't understand. Expendables 4, he does 400. He doesn't look ridiculous. He looks like he belongs next to Statham. It doesn't make sense. How old is that man? Isn't he Poppy's age? How is Sylvester Stallone still clearly a movie star? How many surgeries is that?
77 years old. Not 77 surgeries.
I thought you were
77
saying
years
the
old.
number of surgeries.
Yeah.
Jessica, this is the Stugotz
Or
wheelhouse.
HGH bug
wants
chugs he threw out of his balcony in
Anytime
Australia.
I want to talk about boxing for the last 20 years,
You brought up Mr. T.
all he does is Rocky. It's the only reference point he has. He offers me nothing else, but he loves to talk about it. It's my fault. It's my fault. I should know better by now. But how are you experiencing him going through the storyline of Rocky, which is the only language he has for boxing for 20 years?
If I'm being honest, I've been reading Bill Connolly's S&P Plus College Football Week 9 review. Wow. There's a 5-way tie right now for first place in the Big 12 because of the Kansas-Oklahoma game. Oh. But I can continue with the Rocky conversation.
No, we have to get to college football.
Wildcats are always in that conversation, huh?
Who's the Apollo Creed in that book?
Rocky Top?
We will get to football and...
Look.
I think Bill Connolly writes a book every week.
A book a week.
Who's the Clubber Lang in that conference?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Watch out for the pokes.
Jessica, he's referencing movies from 30 years ago, and you
brought
have
it up.
no reference point.
50 years ago at this point.
You said Mr. T.
It is. It's my fault.
Yes.
It is. I did. I brought it up. I was trying to speak a language he understands.
You did.
Where's Kansas?
Die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. The oceans are all burning and we're all wondering why. Let's turn on the news and find out how we're gonna die. Die. We're all gonna die.
We were unable to procure and get to travel the $6.3 million animated face that was accompanying this horrifying climate fact of the day. But I walked in today, Stugotz, and I asked sort of incredulously, did everyone see what happened to Acapulco? And no one had seen it, Stugotz. And what happened in Acapulco is a tropical storm. People were warned, hey, a tropical storm is coming. It's not something too terrible. And in 12 hours, it increased in speed so fast that it became a Category 5 hurricane and wiped out, like their bodies, and just wiped out a place that didn't have warning, the kind of normal warning that we have for these things that allow us to evacuate. And now a place, a populace, certainly at least that people have heard of, like this, some of this stuff has been happening. We had 6 hurricanes going on at the same time around the world recently. Like, it's been happening, but because it doesn't happen here to places that we care about or to people that we care about. Like, if one of this apocalypses hits someone you care about, their life is going to be ruined.
Right. You'll start to care, correct. But to have something go from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 that quickly, that is scary.
It's never happened before.
Right, that's scary.
That's pretty quick, and we reside in a place where storms get really powerful really fast. And across the Gulf, everyone should be getting used to that because they get microwaved over there.
But 12 hours, usually they'll tell you, hey,
especially
48 hours from now, Cat 2, Cat 3, 5 days from now, maybe a Cat 5.
Especially in a part of the world that doesn't have to deal with that all the time. Like, we're used to having to mobilize quickly for strong storms, not Acapulco.
This is the new normal, I would say, and I don't mean to be alarmist or fearmonger. It's not illegitimate. I know many of you do not think that one of the world's funniest people is making impending doom funny for us because he poured himself into Don't Look Up, a movie meant to point out to everybody, hey, we're doing some really stupid shit, and these storms are going to come to houses near you soon because... Is that fear-mongering? Like, it seems just obvious. If it happens in Acapulco...
It's reality, but I kind of want to detach a little bit. I would really love to talk about the games today. You know what my fear is? Is like getting what Magic Johnson got in Hawaii, that alert that saw him show up in a bunker because I think my phone's going to go off because the world's going to end at any second. You have the climate stuff. You have international political relations. You have... very easily, the doomsday clock is approaching.
A mass shooting in Maine.
Yeah, it's just all bad. It's all bad. And one of my big fears is being jogged out of my sleep at 3 a.m. with a phone alert that I can't shut off telling me to take cover.
So A.J. Brown?
Oh, 6 straight now, 125.
Julio Jones?
No, A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown is
A.J. Brown.
But he's back.
Unstoppable.
It's 6 straight games, 125 plus. Calvin Johnson did it 5 straight times. You don't get this kind of dominance where someone is manhandling defensive backs because he's too big, strong, and fast. This is not something you get from the wide receiver position. Stugotz, Jalen Hurts has a wonderful skill set, but right now he's throwing to a Randy Moss type of receiver.
Sure.
Can't be covered by 2 guys, can't be covered by one guy, is just bigger and stronger than the people he's going up against.
He has 6 consecutive games of 125 yards plus, which is better than any 6-game span Jerry Rice ever had in his career.
And still less yards than Tyreek Hill.
I know. You can make a legit argument, though, that Tyreek Hill or A.J. Brown should be the NFL MVP.
You have made both of those. You have made now. We are not even into the second hour of the show.
I'm just saying, Dan, it should be said, okay, on all platforms, on every show. Tyreek Hill deserves to be the MVP of the NFL. He does.
Okay. And so does A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. That's good.
He should be in the conversation. Tyreek Hill should win it.
Stugotz.
He should win it.
I don't really want to have an MVP.
Take Tyreek Hill off the Dolphins. Tell me what you think the record would be.
Thank you. You really want...
I wish the MVP wasn't just humans. Because the tush push would be the MVP.
I like it.
We can agree on that,
Billy,
right?
It was stopped.
Did you see?
Yeah.
It was stopped, and then they came up with an audible, like a little evolution of the tush push.
Yeah.
Man, that seems unstoppable.
What was your reaction when it was stopped? I was like, what?
Well, they just messed it up.
They messed the snap.
They fumbled.
Still, I was like, what?
That's not supposed to happen.
But then I saw what Swift did, and they ran out of it. I'm like, oh.
What'd she do?
If you got no.
Did you see Denver played Taylor Swift songs loud at the end of that game? Come on, Denver. You gave up 70 early this season. You cannot taunt anybody.
Yes,
yes, they can. They should be celebrating this like it's their Super Bowl.
They've lost 16 straight times to that team.
Another 0.4. Yeah, they beat the Chiefs.
Take your joy where you can find it, Dan.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson, not terrible.
He's been good this season.
He's been all right. Yeah, good for him.
But they gave up 70.
So they beat the Chiefs.
Bad game.
Yeah, exactly.
Happens from time to time.
You said they beat the Chiefs, Stugotz. I want to go over something here with you because they did beat the Chiefs, but clearly, right? This was a funny conversation before the game with Mina and Mike. They're arguing because you can't trust the Chiefs to cover. Nobody wants to bet against the Chiefs because you're scared of them scoring 35.
Of course.
Nobody wants to, but also you bet on them and they have these huge lines and they don't cover as much as they should, but you're just terrified to bet the other side. So lines even inflated in their favor because people love betting the Chiefs and are afraid of betting against the Chiefs. But Mike Ryan, who shows restraint here that surprises me because he's gambling way too much. He says, I'm staying away. I'm staying away. Reports are Patrick Mahomes is sick. And I don't know what that means.
What did Michael Jordan do when he had the flu?
Right. Yep.
And then I watched the game, and it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. Looks like the only time you've seen Mahomes look like that was the Super Bowl where he didn't have an offensive line.
Dude, Kansas City's kind of failed Mahomes, and I know his contract's part of it, and he has the greatest tight end ever. And when you look at their receiving core, you have to take that into consideration. Those receivers are terrible. He's been trying to have them make a play for him all season long, and they fail.
He won a Super Bowl with them.
That might be wilder than Stugotz's Pat Riley failed Miami.
Listen, but
dude, like those receivers are bad. They cut Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman comes back and reminds you why they moved on from Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
Valdez-Scantling is even worse. Don't even get me started on former Fast Switch Energy Drink Player of the Week, Kadarius Toney. They have Travis Kelce, who's been banged up this season, and nobody on that receiving core wants to step up. They're bad.
I want to talk about banged up for a second.
I'm sure they want to step up. They just, perhaps they can't.
They're not looking like it, and they've drafted. They keep thinking, oh, let's just get this fast guy. We'll turn him into Tyreek Hill.
Right.
It's a testament to Patrick Mahomes that he won without Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill's off to the greatest start in terms of receiving yardage we've ever seen in post-merger. But they could use a receiver.
Stugotz, I want to talk about both of these things. One, banged up. Just the phrase banged up, how much of that umbrella covers. Like, banged up in that league is crazy right now, and I want to go through something funny that happened with my wife in a second. But what Mike is saying and what you're saying about Tyreek Hill for MVP, it's not just that he's got unprecedented receiving numbers here in Miami when everyone knows, hey, they're going to be 12 targets there. Can you stop it? They're going to be 15 targets there. Can you stop it? No. But also you go to Kansas City and you're like, well, wait a minute. This used to look like that when Tyreek Hill played there. And Tyreek Hill's going to take that offense from there to here. Mike McDaniel's going to say when offered Tyreek Hill in a trade, yes, everything I have, push it over there, because you're watching every Sunday and you can't believe that you're seeing someone everyone knows is going to get the football and he's too fast for anyone to do anything about it. It's not that he's too big. He's too fast for anyone to do anything about it, so much so that not talking to a deep ball anymore. Like, clearly, he's going to get so open behind your secondary and Tua's going to hit him, and you got to fear it the entire game. And so instead of playing Pittsburgh football offensively, where it's like third and 4 is like it's a C-section because you're playing in these.
It's called a cesarean section. What did you mean by that?
You need to get 6 yards gruesomely. It's hard.
6 yards is third and long for them?
Yeah, I mean,
6 yards.
4 yards?
So
what is third and long
watch.
for the Steelers?
Third and long, they're lucky if it's only third and long and not like third and 40. They are just so sad. And I will say, there was a stretch of football yesterday in the first half of the Steelers-Jaguars game that was among the worst I've ever seen. It was terrible. Kenny Pickett got slammed into the ground, no penalty. They go out there and kick a field goal. It's like pouring rain. And then they get called on an offensive offsides because their guard was lined up incorrectly. I don't understand that. So then the field goal was longer. It was it would have been 65 yards. He missed it. It was terrible. What an awful game. Just disgusting. And Matt Canada, I was with a lot of Pitt people this weekend because Notre Dame was playing against Pittsburgh and I went to the game in South Bend. So I was with a lot of my Pittsburgh family and they think that Matt Canada is the absolute most worst person on the planet Earth. And
he's ascending my charts.
They were saying that at a game in which Pitt lost 58-7. Their offensive coordinator is also on the list, but nowhere in comparison to Matt Canada. They all want that guy to be gone.
Is there a more frustrating penalty than when a lineman just has their hand across the line of scrimmage? When a defense, you ever offsides, and it's just, how do you, hey, defensive lineman, how about you just look a little left, you see the ball, don't put your hand across.
Chris Cody.
Christian Wilkins did that the entire game against Philadelphia.
Earlier in the season, the Steelers were in victory formation, and their left tackle was called for being lined up incorrectly, or false starting or something.
What's a victory formation?
I'll explain it to you later. It's what teams do when they're winning. They had to punt the ball back to the Ravens and give them one more offensive series. It was absurd.
The Steelers are 4-3. Nobody wants to watch any of that.
They were tied for first place in the conference before this weekend.
So are the Jets.
Division, I should say.
Yeah, so are the Jets.
Same record as Joe Burrow.
You say, though, Chris Cody, more annoying penalty. I'll go with just every pass interference, given that it's really hard to come by yards in that sport, except sometimes just the defensive back barrel rolls into your wide receiver 50 yards downfield.